What's going on in Australia? It hasn't been the best day, or like 24 hours anyway, in terms of news coming out of there. I think for the most part, in terms of how things are going in the world, Australia is a pretty decent place to be at the minute. They seem to be doing all right in terms of getting things under control. They look to be the next cab off the rank after New Zealand to get rugby back in action. But like I said, last 24 hours has kind of been a little bit of a blip, a bit of unfortunate news. But yeah, it's one where you feel like the full story maybe isn't out there, and the plot may thicken as time goes by. I wasn't going to do kind of much of the old news of the day stuff if it was pretty minor, but the fact that these things seem to come essentially back to back, I thought, let's have a chat about it and see what you guys reckon as well. So the first thing is that 3 of the Reds guys, and I've read this going both ways, either they had their contracts terminated by Queensland and Rugby Australia, or they terminated their contracts with the same people. So I'm not sure who did the terminating, but essentially Izack Rodda, Isaac Lucas, and Harry Hockings. I never realised the Isaac connection. Yeah, these guys have decided to terminate their contracts essentially over pay, because all the rugby players at this level in Australia were asked to take, I think it was around about a 60% pay cut while there was no rugby being played. I think it's just the average. Top guys would have cut more, and the guys who don't have as much base salary wouldn't have faced as much of a cut. At least that's the way it worked over here anyway. So I'm assuming it's the same. Yeah, these guys essentially said, nah, I'm not going to agree to cut my pay. Now, one of the reasons the plot is a little bit thick is because all these 3 guys just so happen to have the same agent. That seems a little bit too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence. And there's also rumors going around, at least with Izack Rodda, who is the biggest of the 3 guys in terms of reputation, name recognition. Apparently, he's had a bit of a falling out with the Reds coach Brad Thorn, as he wanted, allegedly, to be captain, but Thorn picked Liam Wright. So, I mean, Rodda's still young. He's got a lot of caps for a guy who's only 23. I think he's in 20 odd caps at Wallabies level. Solid player, up and coming, still developing. I thought kind of really committed to the whole Queensland cause, but nah. He is done with the Reds. Isaac Lucas, one of that seemingly endless stream of Lucas brothers that just keeps playing rugby in Australia. He's 21 years old, been touted as kind of one of the next big things, very attacking flair player. And 21, yeah, he's walking out on a 2023 contract that he was supposed to go through till. Harry Hockings has kind of been, I guess, the least dramatic. Like, his contract was up at the end of the year anyway. He's been okay, but he's only 21 as well, so definitely a lot of potential there. But all 3 guys are done with the Reds because they wouldn't accept the pay cut. Now, because they're sports people, they're kind of being shunned a bit, or at least looked down upon for not agreeing to a pay cut. I guess, when you're looking at other people in other industries who are also suffering, the fact that a sports person is unwilling to take a pay cut is seen as kind of the wrong thing to do. It's definitely not a good look. But I mean, man, if my boss asked me to take a 60% pay cut, that would mean some pretty serious questions in terms of the way my life is going. Mortgage and kids and all that kind of stuff. I mean, these guys are all pretty young, but certainly they've got their own, they've got their own lives and they've got their livelihoods. So, yeah, they decided it was a no-go. The rumours are, I've read a couple. Rodda wants to go to the Waratahs. Rodda wants to go to the Brumbies. We'll have to wait and see if he ends up staying in Australia. It'd be good if he does stay in Australia. I'm not sure what the pay situation would be. Is he going to get put on a 40% contract until things get back up and running in Australia? I don't know. Like, if he was going abroad, which the other 2 guys are rumoured to be doing, it would kind of make more sense. But even then, if you're in Australia right now, would you really want to be looking for a contract abroad? I know there's been a few guys recently who have kind of inked deals to go abroad. But I would have thought if you're a 21-year-old guy, maybe now's the time to stick in Australia. But as I said, Brad Thorne does tend to rule, seemingly, the Reds camp with a bit of an iron fist. And if you are not part of his plans or you don't agree, then either you're going to be cut or maybe you want to look for a way out. So, I mean, Quade Cooper sat there playing, second division level rugby for essentially a whole year on big money because Brad Thorne didn't want to play him. And there are other guys who have definitely been on the outer with him as well. But these three have cut ties, and we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, it's just a bit of an interesting one to see kind of how the motivation is. And yeah, there's been all talk about them being kind of shunned by their teammates and whatnot. It'd be hard for them to go back if all your teammates taking a pay cut and you're the one of three guys that doesn't agree to the pay cut. So yeah, that is what it is. But yeah, disappointing. And the other bit is about the Sunwolves. Now this one, to be honest, I didn't find, it's still not 100% confirmed. But it seems to be that Sunwolves won't be able to make it for when the Aussies get their Super Rugby comp in order. Now that for me is 100% not surprising. I mean, I'm here in New Zealand, so I remember hearing the chairman of the New Zealand Warriors, which is a rugby league team over here who play in the Australian competition, him talking about all the kind of the rigmarole of getting the Warriors across the ditch for when the rugby league resumes. And he made it sound like up until the day before they were due to leave on a chartered flight, still not a sure thing. And that's from New Zealand, and New Zealand's got also a really low rate of infection. So for them to have that many issues to get across the ditch to play rugby league, it seemed far more unlikely for a team which is made up of guys from across the globe to be able to get together in Australia in time to train and be ready for the comp. So the news, as I read it on Fox, was that the competition is still likely to be starting on July 4, but the Sunwolves participation likely to be not happening. The headline reads, Sunwolves dealt crushing blow in Aussie Super Rugby reboot. So essentially, they can't afford to wait for the Sunwolves to get together. So it'll likely be the other Aussie conference teams plus the Western Force. So that one for me, not surprising at all, given you have to get the guys there. They've got to be able to train. They've got to find accommodation. They've still got to do like 2 weeks of quarantine. They're coming from South Africa. They're coming from Japan. They're coming from other parts of the world. There's a Georgian there. I'm not sure if he stayed in Japan or if he went back to Georgia. You know what I mean? There's it just seems too messy and too much to organise. So by all accounts, the Sunwolves won't be included, which is very disappointing because I think that will pretty much see the end of the Sunwolves in terms of ever getting to see them play again. So on that account, it's really a bit of a sad one that you don't get to see them go out with a howl on one last game, but rather just with a bit of paperwork not being able to travel due to restrictions. So yeah, but like I said, not really surprising because from the experience we've seen, any kind of travel right now with lockdown nations is very tough. So yeah, bit of a interesting one in terms of the news out from Australia. Hopefully this is the last of the kind of bad news that we get. Hopefully from here out we've got positive news coming. We've got Super Rugby Aotearoa here in New Zealand starting mid-June. So that doesn't seem too far away now that we're at the end of May. And then hopefully start of July, we've got the Aussies back up and running as well. And then I think other places around the world are starting to talk about possible return dates as well. So yeah, despite everything, things are going to carry on. We still need to be vigilant, still need to stay safe and follow the guidelines that we're given. But yeah, what do you guys reckon about these three guys? Are they just greedy, money-hungry guys, or maybe looking for a bit higher profile with a captaincy, or do you kind of feel for them being asked to cut 60% of their wages? I don't know what they're on. That kind of information doesn't seem to be publicly available, but I would imagine it's not too bad money. But again, 40% is not a great number if your boss is gonna, take a slice away and only give you the smaller piece left. And yeah, how are you feeling about the Sunwolves? Did you see them getting off the ground? I mean, it's not 100% confirmed. Can you still see it, or do you think like me that it's pretty much the end of the road for them? I'm gonna wear their jersey any chance I can get it between now and when it's official. But yeah. Anyway, guys, take care. As I said, stay safe, wash your hands, and still be vigilant. And yeah, hopefully rugby isn't too far away. But I'll talk to you again soon, guys. Cheers.